Welcome back, everyone, to the Single Parents Network podcast. I'm Coach Nrgy, the Single Parents Coach, where I work with single fathers and single mothers. On this episode, we will be discussing everything regarding Dr. Alika's history and his relation to the topics that we will be discussing today. Some of those topics include his experience as a child with adultery, abuse, and complacency of one of his parents. Also, we will discuss his father having put himself out or taken himself out of the picture on multiple occasions. And we have so many other things that we will be discussing today. So I am going to let our guest introduce himself. Dr. Alika, please let us know a little bit about you and your relation to everything that we are going to talk about today.
Hi, yeah, Enrgy. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Alika McGuire. I am a chiropractor in St. Louis, Missouri. I guess where can we start? I was born and raised in Hawaii, and I had kind of a interesting upbringing. At one point, I was both, before the age of 18, I was the youngest in the family, being the youngest of my brothers. I have one little sister behind me. At another point in time, I was the man of the house. I was the oldest sibling, and that all of these kind of shifts and changes as I saw the issues that my parents were dealing with and what my family went through just growing up in Hawaii.
All right, wow. So a house full of siblings, and at one point you were the oldest sibling.
Yes.
Did you have to take care of your younger siblings?
Yeah, so I have two older brothers and a little sister. And of course, when the older siblings, when they leave and they get older and they start doing their own thing, that mantle of the oldest, falls onto the next one. And for a while, that was me. And of course, it was well before um, I would say I was even ready or aware that I had that role in my family.
And that happens a lot. It's actually interesting that you mentioned that. It happens a lot where a one child has to kind of step into a role, unfortunately, and become a caretaker or maybe a young adult to the other siblings that are there in the home when one or both parents aren't fulfilling their roles. How was that experience for you when that torch got handed off to you?
Well, I guess let's preface with how it kind of happened, like kind of what the events that led to it. My father had cheated on my mom when we were very young, and it was a very interesting time. And this had happened multiple times. The first time I remember I was very young, and my mom had kicked my dad out of the house for a while, and that for me, I think I was about 7 years old. It was a very emotional time. I remember my dad talking to us and talking to each of us individually, telling us how much he loved us and this and that, and me being very incredibly emotional about it. Um, at some, around throughout the time, my mom brought my dad back in the house. They tried to work things out. And there was one point in time where my dad left. He got up and he moved to Vegas, and he was there for quite some time. During this time, my two older brothers, they were older, so they were off doing their own thing. And then my middle brother, who just 3 years older than me, he was actually going to school on a different island. So he was in boarding school. So he was out of the picture for a while. My oldest brother was, doing his own thing. So there was a period of time where I was both the oldest at the oldest sibling and, surprisingly the man of the house, if you will. Um, as far as taking care of my little sister, I don't remember too much of it. I think I was about 13 at the time, but my sister would make my sister about 9. And um, I remember, I don't remember too much about it, but I do remember spending a lot of time with grandma, who would pick us up from school, and then coming home and cooking dinner so that my mom, who was a nurse, would have something warm to eat when she got home from work. So I remember that, but not too much else. My mom laughs at me because she says my sister and I both went through puberty at the same time. So there was lots of bickering and arguing between the two of us, I guess.
Got it. And so when your mom kicked your dad out of the house, do you remember if that affected you? Um, like, do you remember feeling that absence at that age?
I Yeah, I knew I knew they were having issues. Uh, one, first of all, I knew that my dad, I didn't quite understand what was going on, but I knew there was someone in the picture because he didn't really like essentially hide it from me and my little sister, right? We knew the girl that he was with. We played with her kids. Um, so it was I knew it was weird, but I didn't quite know what was happening. And when my mom found out, I remember that day that night very well, actually. My mom comes out of her bedroom, throwing things at my dad, telling him to leave. And I'm in bed. And later on in the night, I hear my brother just opening and slamming his door and opening and slamming his door over and over and over again. Um, and he just screams and they have like I hear my mom and him like talking about it and just they're consoling each other. So I remember that very well. And when and then a few days later I remember my dad like I thought I wasn't going to see my dad ever again. That's what I thought. I thought that's what it was. Throughout this time, there were even points in time where my mom would ask us, if dad and I separate, who do you want to live with? So we had those conversations, and I was there. All those things were kind of happening along the way.
Got it. So I want to kind of ask you to answer this next question as the age you are now, the adult you are now, but speaking to maybe your younger self, type of thing or type of scenario. So being the age that you are now, but kind of remembering those moments then, did it feel as if there was anything that you could do to help the situation, to help the relationship between your mom and your dad, or did you just feel helpless?
Um, I don't think there was anything my younger self could have done to help the relationship between my mom and my dad. However, you're gonna, I, it, you, that's a very interesting question because as you're asking it, I'm thinking about how I could have helped the relationship between my mom and my brother because my oldest brother, he knew about the situation and he wasn't afraid to say anything to say that and it caused a lot of strife. There's lots of fights between my dad and my brother, and then of course my mom didn't believe what my brother was saying. So um you know my parents actually at one point put my brother out of the house when he was young as well. That's why he was off doing his own thing because they put him out too. Because and a large part of that was because my mom didn't believe my brother. And looking back, I think I would have loved. I should have said something. I would have liked to have said something because perhaps that wouldn't have put that much strain on my brother and my parents' relationship.
Understood, understood.
Hmm.
The reason I asked the the question that I asked and the manner of how I asked it, and a lot of the questions that I will ask you over the next 30 minutes or so together, they're prompted with me knowing that we have listeners who may be struggling with some of the same things that you've experienced. And
Hmm.
one of the constant things that I see that people struggle with, those who have experience growing up with one parent or growing up in a single parent home, is they sometimes hold guilt of things that they had no control over when they were younger.
Hmm. Yes.
And so I asked that question to be able to go further, and just let people know, as a child, there is nothing we can do when our parents are going back and forth, when our parents are bickering, when our parents are making whatever decision they see or that they deem as being the right decision for them at that point in life and in that moment of their relationship. It's unfortunate that a lot of people still hold that guilt even as adults. But then I like how you brought in at the part about maybe not as my parent, maybe there was some nothing I could do, regarding my parents.
Hmm.
However, thinking about it now, could there have been something that I could have said or done regarding my relationship with my brother and my mom's relationship?
Yeah.
So that was interesting that you brought that dynamic up as well. Um, what's your relationship now with your parents?
Oh, depends on one. If anyone's wondering, my parents are still together. They've worked things out. And thankfully, right? So, and I know that's for a lot of listeners, that's not the case for a lot of folks. So I'm fortunate to have that. However, I will say that had they broken up and decided to end their relationship, I think it would be okay, just as fine as well. But my relationship with my parents is a lot better. I will say I've discovered what it's like, what the relationship with my parents looks like. So my mom and I were very much like each other. We have conversations, we talk to each other, we're just kind of fun-loving sort of people. My dad, on the other hand, is a man of very, very few words and shows very little emotion in the process. So, um, it's a lot. I've defined what my relationship with my parents looks like over the last few years, and I'm quite pleased with it. With my mom in particular, we love to chat. We can talk for a couple hours, and then of course we have to stop talking because we can get annoyed with each other. And then on the other hand, my dad and the last time I saw my dad was about a year ago, and we were in Vegas, and he and I sat down silently without saying anything to each other in front of a slot machine and played the slot machine together. And I can't tell you how that for me sums up the relationship with my dad. We just sit down quietly, enjoying each other and just not say a single word. And that's how we enjoy spending time together. Mostly probably because it's just easier. My dad can be very hypercritical and very, very difficult to please. So sometimes it's just easier if we don't say anything. So
I get it.
yeah,
Let's just be, we're,
yeah,
we're by each
yeah.
other. We're spending time together.
Hmm.
There's no perfect way of how that looks for, anyone. So yes. And that
Yeah.
happens a lot with a lot of fathers.
Hmm.
It's just, unfortunately, there are a lot of them that aren't comfortable with being open. They're not comfortable with being vulnerable. they're not comfortable with expressing their feelings, their thoughts, their emotions. And it's unfortunate because us as their children, we need that.
Yes.
We need that. If if your father was listening to this episode, is there anything, maybe not, but is there anything that you may have wanted to tell him at some point, or may have always wanted to say to him, but didn't want to in the, there with him, in person because of, for whatever reason? Is there anything that you have ever or always wanted to share with him?
Ooh, wow. I would honestly, I mean, there's a four-letter word that starts with the F. There's a little phrase there that I know I probably would have, I wish I would have had the guts to say in the past. Um, no, I think if there's anything I would have liked to have said, I probably just been like maybe just I don't care like or I would just maybe just like chill,
Mm.
dude. um growing up is very hypercritical, right? Very difficult to please. I've already mentioned that. um but it was difficult. It was difficult growing up because I always felt like I was just one mess up from getting into really big trouble, right? I always felt like anything I did, I was very close to getting into trouble all the time. So it got very difficult to do anything. Got it, we grew up. Um, there were just things I never asked of him or to do because I already knew the answer was going to be no before I even finished the question. Um, as as a child, it was, probably difficult, difficult to deal with and all of that. As an adult, what can I do now? And I think a lot of how I am as an adult stemmed from all of that, and I'm very proud of where I am today. So, to have had that experience, I don't think I would have been where I am today. So I don't hold any resentment over it at this point.
Oh, that's good. Let's go, if you don't mind, can you tell us or explain a little bit more? Where are you today?
So
What things have you accomplished, or what things have you been able to overcome? Based off of your past and having gone through all of that and not regretting anything and being who you are today. Like, kind of describe, who are you today?
yeah, okay, absolutely. So today, today I'm a chiropractor. I have my own business, and I will say everything that I am today is because a bit of a dramatic overcorrection of where I was as a child. Um, living that kind of life where, very strict father figure, um, always feeling like I'm in trouble, very high expectations, and even achieving high expectations, aren't necessarily good enough. It's expected. It's not, you didn't do anything special. That's expected of you to do good things. Everything since I was 18 was pretty much an overcorrection. After high school, I really wanted to play volleyball in college, and that was very difficult. That was very difficult, and you know, things like dad says I wasn't good enough to play in college, and I kind of just said, F you, I'm gonna do it, and I from Hawaii, I went to Colorado for my undergrad. um that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story, probably for another podcast. But essentially, um I just I just did everything in the back kind of secretly, and then said, "Hey, I'm either going to Colorado for college, or I am gonna be a bum at your house. You pick. So I went to Colorado, and then finally got out of that sheltered life and just did all sorts of things, partied and had a good time in college. And then along the way, I decided I wanted to become a chiropractor. So moved to St. Louis to go to chiropractic school. In that time, I came to terms with being fact that I'm not straight. I'm gay, and I'm right now I'm in a very happy relationship with my partner. We've been together almost 8 years now. We just bought a home together in St. Louis, and I opened up my own office just a year ago. So yeah, lots of stuff. And I do say like a lot of the even though it was difficult growing up in my family, especially being gay in my family, it was it was necessary for me to get here.
Got it. And so, how was the relationship growing up gay with spending time with your grandmother a lot? So, kind
Yeah.
of tell us about that relationship and
Yeah.
that
Now
dynamic.
that was difficult, right? Like most grandmothers, they're very devout, or a lot of folks have very devout grandparents. And my grandmother is Jehovah's Witness. So um, very, very clear, very, very clear as far as what is sinful in terms of relationships. And, being in a gay relationship is just not good. But however, I am a grandma's boy. I love my grandma, and I just, I spent so much time with her, and I call her every week. Um, so it was difficult being in Hawaii, not necessarily knowing that I'm gay, but knowing that I'm different and I'm not like others and I don't have the same attractions as others in my family, knowing how my dad would react to it, knowing how disappointed that would, or perceiving how disappointed that would make my grandmother, um, and then all the other stuff that kind of came with it. It was it was difficult. I couldn't be who I was. And in leaving Hawaii, it was almost a kind of a do or die sort of situation. I need to leave this place or I'm going to do something that is permanent. It was very difficult at the time.
How did how did you get through it? What helped you get from all of that you were dealing with to being where you are today, out and open, loving partnership, the whole
Mhm.
nine? What
I
did you
will
go
say
from?
I will say the first thing was the separation. I mean, I had to completely separate myself from that environment in order to give myself the freedom to explore those aspects of me, right? Um, and over time, as I grew up and I learned and I realized that, even if and I learned how to take care of myself. That was the other thing. If any of this never, like if I were to tell my parents or if I were to do this and they would disown me like they said they would, I would be sad, but I would be okay because at the end of the day I knew that I was capable of supporting myself, I was capable of feeding myself, I was capable of doing all of those things, and I also had developed built um, a friend group that was like a family to me, and that to be I knew that at the end of the day I could lean on that and I could lean on myself because I always figure it out. That's kind of my mantra. I always figured everything out, no matter how tough it got.
Nice. And so today, seeing where you are now and looking back at your younger self, what would you tell your younger self? So I want you to speak in a sense of imagine that there's someone else listening to this podcast. and they're not quite old enough yet.
Hmm.
They may be going through some of the things that you're going through right now, or excuse me, they may be going through some of the things right now that you went through. So, what would you say to that person who's currently going through a lot of those issues, to just kind of give them hope, or give them actual practical steps or tips, in order to just keep pushing through and making it one day at a time?
Yeah. You just have, I would say just have something, have some type of goal or have something that's, um, have your goal or have your what I don't know what the word is right now. Um, make your mission, that's what it is. Make your mission bigger than your fear, right? My When I left Hawaii, I left with the intentions of experiencing and playing volleyball because that felt like something that felt like an experience that was stolen from me, an experience that I wanted to have in college. And I remember in high school so vividly imagining myself playing volleyball all over the place. Um, and I thought college was going to be that experience. And um, I, so I was just like, fuck it. I just had to go. It was, my mission was bigger than my fear. I didn't care what it was going to be. I was going to do it. And, if since we're on volleyball, I play everywhere. I've traveled all over the country to play volleyball. I've played at so many different levels. I've coached kids from, little 5 year olds to collegiate athletes. So it's just wonderful to sit here and have that, to go back home and have that experience, or just even call my mom and be like, oh yeah, hey mom, I'm in Indianapolis. I'm playing volleyball this weekend. Or I'm in Dallas, I'm playing volleyball this weekend. All these things are just, it's fun to have these conversations because that was the original goal.
I like that. Make your mission bigger than your fear. That's that's a powerful statement. That is a very powerful statement. And I'll add to it, for anyone who is also listening and if you're currently in a difficult situation, it's absolutely imperative that you do indeed set your eyes on something bigger and let that be your focus, as opposed to focusing on whatever obstacles or issues or arguments and attitudes or frustrations or whatever it is that you're currently dealing with right now. Especially if you are in an environment where you can't quite control it. If you're still living at home with your parents, whatever situation you're in, have a bigger focus, have something that you can actually put your time, your effort, and your attention on, and use that as your driving force every single day to just keep pushing through and to get through your days, because we know that some days are going to be super tough. Some days you're going to just look at it like, how am I going to get through this day? But if you have a bigger goal, if you have something, a bigger vision, if you make your mission bigger than your fear, the way that Dr. Alika just stated, then you can absolutely keep getting through it every single day until you're able to get out of the situation altogether. So definitely don't give up and just keep pushing through no matter what. Go ahead and make that decision that no matter what, I will always get up and push through. I will never give up.
Yeah.
So I'll just
And
add that little bit.
yeah, when you've got that mindset, when you're just there, like this is so important to me, and you go to sleep with it and you imagine it and you feel it so vividly, anything, all the obstacles, they're not in the way, they're on the way, because you have to hit that in order to get to where it is that you see yourself at.
That's right. They're not in the way, they are on the way. And that's another way of just saying, you're going to come up against some obstacles. You're going to, what do they say? The going will get tough. You will have to battle. You will have to figure out another plan A, B, C, and D. You will have to, instead of going straight along your path, you may have to go along that winding road or go over some obstacles or whatever. So, yeah, I like that. I like that statement. Good deal. So, how's your relationship with your grandmother today?
Oh, we're good. She still doesn't. Well, I'm sure she knows that I'm gay, and I'm sure she knows that Derek is not just my friend at this point. Um, I am fully out to the rest of my family. I haven't had that conversation with my grandmother, and I think I'm gonna keep it that way. I think I'm gonna I love my grandmother. I know she loves me no matter what. I know she's happy for me. I know she's proud of me because I have done things no one else in my family has ever done. And she knows just how much I complained about everything to her. So she knows I'm happy, and so I'm very happy with my grandmother and I's relationship at this point. But we just won't have that conversation, and I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's completely okay for everyone, anyone that's listening. It's totally fine to not have those conversations with some people. Um, but you just got to be happy with yourself, and you just have to know that that's okay, and give yourself some grace. You're not cheating yourself by just allowing that side of yourself to be for you, and knowing where in those relationships um, they need to be shared.
That's right. That's right. So, what would you say to, let's just say we have, whether it be a father and a mother that are
Hmm.
in a household right now and they're bickering?
Hmm.
As you being someone who grew up in a household with parents that didn't always get along and that eventually separated, you had a father that removed himself from the situation, a father that cheated on his mom, and then just everything else that was just thrown into the mix. What would you say to those parents who are listening to let them know of how it affects the children?
Um, yeah, your kids are a lot more aware than you think. They may not understand what's happening, but they are aware. And I think depending on how you handle situations with your children, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want what you want that to look like. Um, because kids see everything. They see how you problem solve. They see how you deal with frustration. They see they see what you allow to happen to you as a person and what you allow others to do. And they see that, and kids learn by it's all monkey see, monkey do, right? They know and they learn, and um, I guess I would say it's okay. Everyone has to go through their own personal healing journey. How much of that healing do you want to be a part of is one thing, or how much of that stress and strife that you put your kids through do you want them to have to heal from as adults?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. You didn't know what I was hoping you would say, not necessarily hoping, but yes, you were hitting those points. Our parents, when kids are involved, you must know, you must understand that whatever you both are going through, your kids are also going through that same thing as well. And so, no matter what emotions you may be feeling, no matter what anger you may be feeling, whatever hurt or betrayal or disrespect, whatever it is that could be going on between the two parents, please do whatever you can to not involve your kids. Find a way of how the two of you, can communicate in an effective way, in a healthy way, and in a positive way, so therefore your kids aren't being affected. Because as adults, a lot of us who grow up in an unhealthy household, we tend to carry a lot of that baggage and a lot of those unhealthy traits and methods of handling life and situations and relationships. We tend to carry that throughout our own life. And that's where adults that are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, they're not able to find a healthy relationship themselves, because they're still dealing with a lot of childhood baggage, a lot of childhood trauma, and things that were just out of the child's control. And that's not fair. That is not fair. But for those who are adults now at this point in life, and if you grew up in an unhealthy household, there's still something you can do. You still now are in control of your own life, and you can take advantage of all of the resources that are out here: therapists, counselors, coaches, support groups, you name it. You don't have to just continue to go through life. You have a choice now. You don't have to go through life being affected by things that happened when you were 5, when you were 10, when you were 16, when you were 18. You can actually get help to get through it. It is possible, and there is a better life on the other side of all of that.
Hmm.
Life is life can be enjoyable, and unfortunately a lot of people don't think that that's possible, but it is possible. So thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
information, because being able to hear it from someone who experienced it firsthand, it gives hope to other people. So yeah, I appreciate that. So you mentioned your healing journey. Kind of talk to us about that. How has your healing journey been? What did you do? And you don't have to go into details. It's whatever you're comfortable with sharing. But what did you do to start your healing journey and to continue that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, if you wanna dig up all your generational, emotional, childhood trauma, start a business. Start a business. Because I started my chiropractic office in 2020. It was already rough. It was already rough to begin with because I had worked with a business partner and I had lost some money, and it was just not a it wasn't it wasn't a it was bit more bitter than sweet at my starting of my own practice. And in that time, from starting in January of 2020 to everything else that happened in the following 2 years, um, you dig up a lot of the stuff, and then at some point you have to, like, you've done everything that you can think of in your business to help it, and then there's only one more place to look, and that's right in the mirror. You're just sitting there and you're like, what the F is wrong with me? What's going on? So um it started by reading lots of books. I started with I started with a few books, and most of it surrounded about was about money, because money was a huge stressor for me at the time, which is a stressor for everybody, but for me, being in business, it was even more so. Um, so I started reading books about money, and you know things like The Richest Man in Babylon are some good books. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, um, The Millionaire's Seminar by Foster Hibbard, all of these books. And then you start to see this, there's a spiritual side of attracting wealth and becoming wealthy and all of that. And then in that, you start to discover that maybe I don't have a healthy relationship with money. And then you start looking at your relationships with other things. And you start looking at your relationships. And when you do things like that, you cannot avoid the relationships you have with your parents. You can't avoid the relationships you have with your older siblings. You can't avoid any of the relationships in your life because what you've learned from them and everything from generations past is just passed down onto you, and now all of a sudden you now have to become aware of these things if you want to fix it, especially when you're looking at, we can go deep into this energy, but when you're looking at things from the subconscious level, right, it's not things that you planted there, it's things that were planted in your parents' heads generations ago that you have to become aware of. You have to unlearn that. Um, and I believe that, some of those things are there at a cellular level. It's genetics that um, you're trying to get rid of, you're trying to change, and all of that. So that's how my personal development journey started. And then since then, I have done so many other things. I've read so many books on this, and I keep picking up the next book, and I keep rereading some of the old books because now that I'm 4 years into this, and now that I'm going back, I'm reading some of the books that I read when I first started. I'm like, huh, I see something different. I see it differently this time. Um, but in my personal development journey, things have been just you start to become aware of things, you start to realize how things serve you. You start to realize how you start to quit things that don't serve you anymore. And you're not so upset about it. You're just kind of, it's okay. It served you for a little bit. You're thankful that it happened, and now you can move on gracefully. And of course, I think a really tough thing when it comes to any type of personal development is knowing who can't be on the train, who can't ride this train with you, and making those decisions like, I can't, like, I'm moving on. And you have to be okay with that because that's their own journey. So there are folks that just can't come with you.
That's right. That's right. Ooh, you mentioned unlearn. I forgot what I was saying a little bit earlier, where, but ultimately, yes, you do have to go through the process of unlearning a lot of what we have learned as kids. And that's a process and a journey and all on its own. That's
Yeah.
tough. And but it's necessary. We have to shed a lot of things that have been piled on to us over the years. And like you said, from generations to generations prior to us. Also, a lot of what you were saying when you were describing your healing journey, one of the first things you mentioned was look in the mirror. And then you eventually segue to the self awareness piece. And this is where I am going to bring my product into frame, where I have an audio coaching program where it walks people, it's self-paced, and it walks you along the journey of discovering self. It's literally called What's Your Passcode? And with that, it takes you through a lot of those steps that you actually mentioned. Part of it being how to unlearn a lot of the things that we've learned along the way. Self awareness, actually, self awareness is the first step, is key number one,
Mhm.
self awareness. And then we talk about goal setting, we talk about controlling your emotions, and we also cover how to just learn you, how to learn self. So how to learn those things that maybe excite you, those things that may just really like drive that passion or light that fire within you. And you start to learn what are the things that just really aggravate me? The things that I need
Hmm.
to maybe like stay away from? People as well, like you were saying, those who may not be able to continue this ride with us. So I am going to mention this for anyone who has not received a copy. Make sure that you go into the description of this audio podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, go into the description and there will be a link to where you will be able to receive your own copy. And let's go ahead and get the process started. Start your own healing journey. There's no time to waste at this point. We are dealing with a lot of stuff every single day. All of us are. And again, just letting you know and reminding you, life is worth living and life can be enjoyable. You don't have to just exist. You can actually live with intention. You can live on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. So, I don't know about you, but I think this could be a great time for us to segue to what I like to call my fun segment. If you are game, awesome, awesome. So, what I'm going to do is ask you two or three questions. They are completely out of the box, they have nothing to do with what we discussed today, and I want you to have fun with it, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. So, my first question to you is, what is your biggest pet peeve?
So I have a few pet peeves. I'm very, I'm like almost there are areas of my life where I'm very, very structured to a T. Um, and one thing, and I'm working on this. I have to give myself a lot of grace. I have to give other people a lot of grace around me. I want my home and my car to look like I'm selling it all the time. Like I don't just want it clean. I want it like presented on magazines all the time. And my partner is not is a little cluttery. I love him, but there are times where he works from home, I don't, and there are times where I'll see some dishes or I'll see a bag of chips on the coffee table, and I'm like, "Oh, you couldn't like put this stuff away?" And he's like, "Well, I'm busy." Like, how busy are you? Like, you can't you're not that busy sometimes, and he's there. I mean, and there are times where he's taking like a much deserved and needed like coffee break, and I'm like, you couldn't have like put this stuff away. Like, are you kidding me? So a big pet peeve of mine is I want my place and my space to look like I'm selling it. So, but I'm
That
working on that. I'm there. I gotta be nice about it. So,
patience.
yeah. So we don't fight about it. Thankfully, we don't fight about it at all. Usually I'm like, okay, I see it, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna go in the bedroom. I'm gonna go downstairs and work out, or I'm gonna, just like play a video game so I can look at something, so I don't have to look at the fact that there's, a crumb left, or like you wiped all of the surface, but you didn't think to like, put the cup away, like, just finish the job, dude. What's wrong? Like, sorry.
That is hilarious. But I get it. I get it, I
Yeah,
think we all have like our clutter limit.
mine's very low.
But yeah, you know,
Yeah,
like nearly zero tolerance, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay, I like that. So my next question for you is, what is the your favorite item you've bought so far this year?
My favorite item I've bought so far this year. Oh my goodness. Gosh, what would it be? I don't buy a lot of things. I don't buy a lot of things for myself. Um, you know what? I will say that my favorite thing, I did Smile Direct Club this year. Yeah. That was one thing. So that was one thing I've been wanting to do for such a long time, wanted to get some visit, invisible aligners and get, kind of get my teeth straightened a little bit. And it was always, again, it was always like a money, like, oh, I can't spend the money for that, or I don't want to put it towards that, or I'm not ready for that. It was always some type of money thing. And last year around November, a patient, she had just gotten her braces off. And I said, we were talking about teeth, and she's like, you should do it. And then I said, I'm going to do it. And in January of this year, I went and got I went and got my invisible aligners, and I finished up in like June. It was June when I had my last one in. That was one, and this other one. I just want to put this one in there because it's sentimental to me. I'm going home for the first time in 4 years. So I got tickets to Hawaii. I'm gonna go see I haven't seen my grandmother. I haven't been home in 4 years. So this is the first year since before COVID that I will go home and just fall asleep on a beach.
Right. Take me with you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I'm gonna ask this question because it just clicked when you mentioned Hawaii. How is your family doing with um, the weather that they were experiencing not
Mhm.
too long ago, earlier this year?
Yeah. They're doing okay. There are 8 islands um in Hawaii, and my island has it's called the name of the island is Hawaii, so it's a little confusing, but it's the biggest island in the island chain. That was the one that was on the news like 4 or 5 years ago because of the lava flows. So yeah. But my family is doing well. Yeah, they're doing good. The weather's a little wishy-washy, but we're going into our rainy season, so hopefully things start to calm down a little bit. Um, but yeah, they're doing just fine.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh my gosh. Okay, one more question for you. What's one word you would use to describe yourself and why?
Ooh, um, challenging, challenging. Now, the reason why I say this, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Enneagram, I'm very strong in my type 8, which is the challenger. Um, and the reason why I say that is because one of the reasons my partner and I have been together for nearly 8 years is because he challenges me. I remember our first date together, we got into an argument, and I was like, it was awesome. I loved it. So the other thing too is, in my coaching and my consulting, and for business and my own personal development, um, one of my one of the funniest things that I do is that, someone will tell me something, even like my parents, like, don't tell me what to do because I'm gonna do it. Or if you tell me what to do, I'm gonna do it the exact opposite and tell you that I can get the same results. So so challenging is one thing. I love being challenged. I like to challenge people. And one of the things that I respect most about others is they're if they're going to challenge me, and if they're going to challenge themselves and others, because um, back to just personal growth, you have to, in order to grow and just become a better person, you have to do hard things. You have to challenge yourself. And I'm one in particular who will seek challenges.
Wow.
And personal development is in and of itself an incredibly challenging task.
Yes. Lifelong. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, indeed. Oh my gosh. Ah, man, I'm glad that I did ask you to break it down. What's your word and why? Because as you were talking, you just made it all make sense.
Mhm.
So, well, I thank you for entertaining us during that little fun segment. All right, so we're going to go back to our episode, and let's go ahead and close this out. So, is there any takeaways, final takeaways, golden nuggets, any last words you would like to leave us with?
Um, yeah, there's a couple of things. Give yourself a lot of grace and uh, whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever it is that you're trying to overcome, by breaking through your family's mold, give yourself a lot of grace because you're gonna F up a lot. And you might not like yourself for it when you start to see so many aspects of the people that you thought you never wanted to be like.
Mm.
Um, and the last thing is um, resentment. Resentment is a very, very good motivator for you to get for you to do things that you want to do and achieve things that people said you couldn't. Um, but it's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable model because at some point you burn out, you crash and burn, and it's not pretty. So if you're fueled by resentment, or if you're achieving things out of spite, that's wonderful, and I'm happy that you have that, but it's not sustainable. At some point that's going to rub off on your relationships. It's going to rub off on your children. It's going to do that where they think they need to have this incredible um, this incredible strife around them and this incredible adversity in order to be successful. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to set yourself up that way.
Love it. I love it. Give yourself grace and understand resentment is not a good or long term solution for wanting to achieve whatever it is that you are looking to achieve. Um, yes, awesome takeaways. Well, I thank you so much for being a guest on our show. And I do not want to let you leave without giving you the opportunity to share with us ways of how we can find you, follow you, support you, anything that you may have going on, your business. Please plug your business and whatever else you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the owner and doctor at McGuire Total Wellness. We are located in St. Louis, Missouri, just outside the city. It's a very easy drive right off of Highway 44. Um, and I'm a chiropractor. I am a wellness based chiropractor in that people find me because they have back pain or they have issues with their back pain, neck pain, headache, knee pain, whatever it is that they've got. And I take them and I help them with that, but I take it a step further. I don't just stop at, I don't just want to help people with pain. I want to help them with their ability to function, right? Because folks, when we think about pain and we make that um, our standard for whether we're better or not, as soon as the pain goes away, we don't think we have issues anymore, right? And you couldn't be further from the truth because pain is very easily managed, right? You can take an ibuprofen, you can stretch, you can rest, you can relax, and people will suffer through a little bit of that if it helps them pay the bills. But I take it a step further. I don't want you to just I don't want to just help you get rid of your pain. I want you to play soccer with your kids. I want you to be able to get on and off the floor with your grandchildren. I want you to be able to sit down or get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom without any help. I really do take my practice from taking your pain and putting it into your structure, your function, your activities that you do every single day. Um, you can find me on all social media. I think I've got everything except for Twitter. So I haven't quite gotten into Twitter, but it's at McGuire Total Wellness.
Awesome.
And
Well,
then, oh, I guess, there are a couple, we're going into the fall season, so it's always a lot of fun. Um, I'm doing my first patient appreciation day very shortly. So giving away lots of free stuff, and new patients are free. That's going to be on Halloween this year. And then, of course, going into November, I'll be doing a canned food drive where you bring some canned good items. And then in December, we're going to be doing a winter coat drive. And all of these things are going to be donated to the back to the community, and whatever else comes to mind. I'm always throwing out ideas and just running with it.
Awesome. And do you happen to have a website?
Yes, www.mcguiretotalwellness.com.
Definitely wanted to get that in there. Good deal. All right, making sure I make my notes too. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that information throughout this entire time of this episode that we've been discussing. I appreciate you for being willing to kind of go back in time a little bit. And I'm just kind of letting us know what it looks like as a child growing up in a household with co-parents or single parents. But happy to hear that your parents got back together and you've experienced the whole gamut, basically. And I loved your courage. I love your courage and for being willing to just come out here and share everything that you have experienced, and being willing to just let everyone know, like, hey, I've been through it. If you're going through it, there's something greater on the other side. Don't give up, keep pushing through. And look at you, a whole owner and operator of your own chiropractic clinic. I love it. Awesome, awesome. Well, that is it for this episode, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure you go check out Dr. Alika's website and his social media pages. And if you are in the area of where his practice is located, be sure you go visit. And if nothing else, donate. He has various giveaways that are coming up, Halloween, November, and December. So go check him out. Support your local business as well. And if you would like to be a guest on this podcast, please feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on YouTube at the Single Parent Network, or you can find me on your favorite podcast platform, also the Single Parent Network. If you prefer to go to my website, thesingleparentnetwork.com, you can find me there. You can contact me there as well. If you are looking for a coach to assist you with going through or getting through everything that we've discussed today, reach out to me. You can make an appointment on my calendar. Your first appointment is just a free consultation, so no obligation. But why not reach out and see what type of support and assistance you can receive in order to start your healing journey as well. And you always know that when you master your mind, when you master your emotions, and when you master your assignment, you can live your purpose and live on purpose. Thanks so much. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Thanks. Until next time. Bye-bye.